I'm Reed. I am 27. Just an average dude. I've made tons of money mistakes in my 20s, and now I want to share everything I've learned to help you take control of your finances and your life. Alright, so let me tell you about the best piece of advice I ever got about side hustles. It came from this guy I looked up to when I was a kid. He was a millionaire, but not the flashy type, just a guy who figured things out early and built something real. I remember being this broke 20-something stressing out, thinking I would never have that one big idea. You know, the one that revolutionary light bulb moment that changes everything? I was convinced I had to invent something brand new to make it. And one day I was talking to him about this exact fear, and he just looked at me and said something I have never forgotten. He said, "You do not need to reinvent success, just recognize the patterns that are already working and make them your own." That hit me hard because he was right. I had been sitting around waiting for some magical idea to fall out of the sky while people all around me were quietly building wealth using systems that already existed. From that day forward, I stopped guessing and started studying. I looked at what truly successful people were actually doing. Not the hype, not the influencers flexing rented cars, the real ones, and that changed everything. My side hustles grew, my income grew, and eventually I became a millionaire myself, and I owe a lot of it to that simple principle. So you are probably thinking, okay, Reed, but what side hustles are actually working for real people right now? I got you today. I am going to share 7 real-life examples of young people currently making over $100,000 a year from their side hustles, real names, real numbers, real stories, so you can follow their proven pathways and replicate their success. And yes, I am bringing back the scrapbook because it is in need of an update. I am going to rate each one out of 5 in 3 key areas: how much time it takes to learn, how much money you need to start, and how difficult it is to actually make $10,000 per month. Let us get into it. Side hustle idea 1 is eBay reselling. Now this guy, Kai Towers, man, his story gets me every time. His life was going absolutely nowhere. His mom died when he was just a kid, and he never even knew his father. By his late teens, he was stuck in some dead-end job with no obvious way out. You know that feeling when you look around and everyone else seems to have it figured out and you are just surviving? That was him. But one day he had enough. He decided to take control of his life, so he started selling stuff on eBay. Simple, right? But with that new motivation, he managed to turn $400 into $317,000 within just 1 year. I know that sounds insane, but it is real. Now, you might be thinking, but is not eBay dead? Is not it all about Amazon? Now, I thought the same thing, honestly, but check this out. eBay latest revenue shows it is not dying, it is growing. In the second quarter of 2025, they brought in $2.7 billion, which is 6% up year on year. I know that sounds weird because you probably never hear anyone talking about eBay anymore, but when you understand where this growth is coming from, it all makes sense. Back in the early days, eBay and Amazon were neck and neck, both chasing the same mass market audience. But as Amazon scaled into this massive retail giant powered by logistics and prime delivery, eBay quietly pivoted. Instead of competing on speed and convenience, it started dominating in the niches. I am talking collectibles, vintage items, refurbished tech trading cards, and hard-to-find products. In these areas, loyal buyers will still choose eBay over Amazon every single time. I know it is a cliche saying, but the riches are truly in the niches. Kai knows this better than anyone. That is why he was able to make so much money dominating the gaming accessory niche. He sells things like replacement thumbsticks, retro memory cards, and even devices to make you a stronger player in video games. Nothing revolutionary, just a specific niche done really well. Now for the ratings, first, how much time does eBay reselling take to learn? I will give this a 1 out of 5, because all you need to do is pick one of the niches I mentioned earlier and dedicate a month of your time to learning how the platform operates. That is it. Second, how much money do you need? I will give this a 1 out of 5 again, because right now, without even knowing it, you are probably sitting on a gold mine. And before you say I am crazy, let me explain. To be successful on eBay, you need stock to sell. But before ordering a load of products from a supplier, here is a useful strategy most people overlook. Warm your eBay account up by selling unused items from around your house. This has so many benefits. It lets you learn the eBay ropes completely risk-free. It warms up your account with some sales history and positive feedback. And it makes you some fast cash you can then reinvest into better stock. I did this myself when I started selling old video games and clothes I never wore. It is the most beginner-friendly way to start. Third, how easy is it to make $10,000 per month? I will give this a 2.5 out of 5. As Kai demonstrated, it is completely possible to start with stuff from around your house and scale up to over 6 figures. But does that mean it is going to be super easy? Of course not. You will need to stay on top of your listings, constantly updating them and making sure your prices stay competitive. But the blueprint is right there. Side hustle idea 2 is brand deal flipping. This is Suhail Amin. At just 16 years old, he was diagnosed with cancer. Imagine being a teenager dealing with that, but instead of letting his illness stop him, he used the hours he spent in hospital beds to start brand deal flipping. This is basically when you connect an influencer with a brand and take a cut for yourself. It is what is known as a middleman side hustle. He did not have any connections when he started. None. But now, just 6.5 years later, he generates over $4 million per year working with big brands. Like Ubisoft, Netflix, and ASOS, he also works with some of the biggest influencers and public figures like Sidemen Logan, Paul Stephen Bartlett, and even Mark Tilbury. The crazy thing about all of this is the opportunity is only growing. When Suhail first started, he had to convince big brands that online creators were worth spending money on. He was fighting an uphill battle because nobody really respected influencers back then. But now the landscape has completely changed. In May 2025, the New York Times announced that for the first time, Americans watch more streaming content than cable and broadcast television combined. And guess what the top streaming platform was? Netflix, Amazon Prime, maybe Disney. No, it was actually YouTube with a whopping 12.5% of television viewership. Its closest rival Netflix had only 7.5%. That is why brands are throwing more money than ever at online creators. And if you can be the middleman who negotiates those deals, you can take a big slice of the profits. Now, you might ask, why would not influencers just get the brand deals themselves? Good question. Think about the biggest companies in the world. Airbnb does not own a single property. Uber does not own any cars. Amazon started by just connecting buyers and sellers. DoorDash helps you order food. They are all middleman businesses just like brand deal flipping, and they work so well because of convenience. It is really convenient for an influencer to work with someone like you who can handle the deal. So all they have to do is focus on creating great content, ratings, time. First, how much time does brand deal flipping take to learn? I will give this a 2 out of 5. As a brand deal flipper, your main job is to bridge two worlds. The creators who are usually younger and the people running the big brands who are typically older. The real value lies in managing both sides of that relationship. As long as you understand YouTube, you have already done half the work. If you then take the time to understand how brands operate, you are onto a winner. Second, how much money do you need? I will give this a 1 out of 5 because as Suhail proved, all you need is a laptop and a bit of time to invest in building your connections. He started by following creators on Instagram and then finding related creators using the suggested feature. He spent hours following his process and reaching out to people. Within his first 6 months, he made $30,000 in profit. Third, how easy is it to make $10,000 per month? This gets a 2 out of 5. The hardest part is convincing people to work with you. But once you do, earning $10,000 a month is more than achievable. Think about it this way. Let us say you find one brand who books just 5 influencers through you each month. Each influencer has an average deal value of $7,000 and your margin is 30%. From one brand alone and just 5 influencer partnerships, you have an agency doing $400,000 a year in revenue and netting around $10,000 per month in profit. These are not unrealistic numbers at all. They are completely possible in the influencer economy we live in today. Side hustle idea 3 is video editing. This is Tom Ross. A few years ago, he was sitting in his uni bedroom staring at the student debt. He was racking up thinking there has to be a better way to make money. He had no idea where to start, so he grabbed the closest thing to him, his laptop, and decided to learn video editing. That single decision led him to learn a skill far more valuable than his degree. Before he knew it, he had made his first $100,000 in yearly profit working with some of the biggest companies and creators on the planet. He started editing influencer collaborations for brands like Coca-Cola, Nintendo, and Gymshark. He also escaped his small uni room and gained the freedom to travel the world and work from anywhere. There is no reason you cannot do this too, because the demand for skilled editors is only growing. Video now makes up 82.5% of all global internet traffic. That is huge. Companies need to create video content, otherwise they are invisible. As we speak, they are urgently looking for people who can take their message and turn it into something people actually want to watch. Once you become good, you will be able to charge a lot because you are directly increasing the company revenue, but will not video editors just be replaced by AI? Good question. Here is the truth. Yes, AI can cut clips and sync to a beat, but there are 2 main reasons it will never replace real editors. First, emotion. AI cannot feel tension, build anticipation, or spot the moment that gives you goosebumps. Second, AI cannot innovate, it can only imitate. It studies what has already been done and copies those patterns. Real editors do the opposite. They do not copy, they create. So yes, AI will be a tool editors use a lot, but it will not be a suitable replacement. Let us look at the ratings first. How much time does video editing take to learn? I will give this a 3 out of 5. Look, video editing is not something you master overnight, but it is also not something that takes years. Tom mentions that beginners make the big mistake of focusing too much on fancy transitions and crazy effects, but in reality, that is not what most clients are looking for. His advice is to master the basics first. Learn how to cut, how to pace, and how to add music, then practice putting together a story. If you can make a viewer feel something or keep them watching until the end, you have already cracked 80% of what makes an editor valuable. Second, how much money do you need? This is definitely a 1 out of 5. Video editing is one of those rare skills where you can start with almost nothing. If you have a half-decent laptop and an internet connection, you are good to go. Of course, you can save up and invest in paid software, a faster laptop, or even better storage, but none of those things are required to start earning. Some of the best editors I know began on laptops that could barely export a 1080p clip. So do not wait until you have the perfect setup. Start with what you got, learn the craft, and the upgrades will follow the income, not the other way around. Lastly, how easy is it to make $10,000 per month? I will give this a 3 out of 5 here. Is the honest truth in the beginning you will probably take on smaller jobs like editing TikToks and Reels for smaller creators or businesses, but do not overlook them. These jobs are going to lay the groundwork for your future earnings. They are your ticket to building a strong portfolio, and that is what attracts the higher paying clients. If you take on multiple clients per month, you will reach that 10K mark in no time. Side hustle idea 4 is branded dropshipping. This is Jimmy Barlow. Not long ago, he was just like most students, broke, stuck in a neighborhood he wanted to escape, wondering how he would ever get rich. He did not have any money connections or experience, just a laptop and some motivation. So he started branded dropshipping and learned on the go. That decision changed everything. Now he regularly pulls in around $40,000 in profit per month. Dropshipping has been around for a while, but branded dropshipping is where people are making the most money right now. It is much more effective compared with the old approach. Let me explain why. A few years ago, the classic dropshipping model looked like this. Someone visits your store and buys a product for, let us say, $30. Then you jump over to AliExpress, grab the same item for around $10 plus shipping, and have it sent straight to your customer. On paper, that looks like easy money, but it never really plays out that smoothly. To get that sale, you probably spent $5 to $10 on ads. And by the time you deal with refunds, delays, or shipping issues, you are barely scraping a profit. That is the problem with old school drop shipping. It works, but it is fragile. Branded drop shipping changes everything. The backend looks similar because you are still selling online, but the way you position the product is completely different. You focus on building trust, designing better websites, and branding a product people actually want to be seen using. Suddenly, that $30 item is not fighting for pennies. It is an $80 product that people buy because they believe in the brand behind it. Your margins grow, your refund rate drops, and your side hustle starts to feel more sustainable. That is why branded dropshipping is not just the next step. It is the smarter, more sustainable way to build a side hustle that lasts. Here are the ratings. First, how much time does branded dropshipping take to learn? I will give this a 4 out of 5, not because it is hard, but because it takes time. You are not going to be profitable right away, and that is completely fine. This is not a get-rich-quick play. It is a long-term side hustle that builds steady, predictable income over time. Like anything worth doing, it takes a few months to get off the ground. Month 1 is about getting started, building your store, testing your ideas, figuring out how the pieces fit together. You will have some small wins and a few frustrating losses, but that is part of the process. Month 2 is when things start to click. You have data, you have learned what works, and now it is about doubling down on what is actually getting results. Month 3 is where you shift into growth. By now, you have likely made your first sales and maybe even your first 50 to 100 customers. That is your proof of concept. Now it is time to scale your ads, reinvest profits, and start thinking bigger. By around month 6, if you stay consistent and keep learning, you will have a store that is generating reliable profit every month. Second, how much money do you need? I will give this a 1 out of 5 because you can get started almost completely free. The beauty of dropshipping is that you do not actually pay for product until you have made a sale.